It's just setting up. Just keep smiling.
I'm so glad you understand how to do all this. It's beyond my grade level.
I make a lot of boo-boos. Okay. So we are live.
Okay.
We are live here at Resonant.
I'm so glad you understand how to do all this.
Hang on.
Live. Okay.
Yep. Here at Resonant.
I'm so glad you understand how to do all this. It's repeating. Okay.
I know. I've got to turn. I do this a lot. Hang on a second. I got to pause it. There we go. There we go. Now we're live. I always screw this up. Everybody laughs. So now we're live. Now we're on and everybody's watching us. Hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Thank you, Lee, for joining me. I want to introduce Lee Mitchell. She is a past life regression therapist and an author of 3 books. Give us the names of your books, please.
The first one is The Soul's Journey. The second one is The Divine River of the Soul's Life. And the third one is Discovering Your Soul's Path. And I've just finished my 4th book. It's with the book formatter who does my covers, and it is called The Awakened Soul. And it is the most outstanding because it was taken from cases during the pandemic. So it's very, very interesting cases. So I'm very excited to get that one out.
You know, I have to say, I admire what it takes to write a book and to become an author, because people don't realize I'm a writer. That just means you haven't been published yet.
That's right.
I'm on the verge of being published.
Good.
Thank you for my first book. And it's a lot of hard work. Yeah. So I applaud you and thank you for sharing your world.
Thank you. Well, I have good people that help me. I have good book formatter, Mary Ann Sperry.
You know, I
wonderful.
Talk to you about that one because I tried looking her
fabulous.
Up, and
she even turns the book into the electronic book. So she does all of that. And then we load it onto Amazon, and I also sell the books wherever I go. And she is very talented.
Well,
I just give her everything and she puts it all together.
We'll talk about her because I couldn't find her, but we'll talk about that on another.
Okay.
Let's talk about you because I'm really excited that you came to Resonant Essentials a few months back and said, hey, I want to do some work with you here at Resonant Essentials. And I had the opportunity to get to know you, talk with you, and work with you. So I'm so excited to be able to share some of this with everyone.
Go ahead. I just moved from Denver. I've been living in Denver for over 20 years. And I started doing past life regressions about 15 years ago. I was in real estate for almost 33 years.
Wow.
And the knock on the door started when I was in my 30s, literally. I read Dr. Brian Weiss. I read Dr. Michael Newton, Dolores Cannon. I followed anything I could follow to do with past life. And finally, in my 50s, I put my real estate license up and I said, I'm going to go do this. And I have never looked back. I've loved every moment of it. It keeps me totally engrossed in interesting cases. And I learn from the clients. I learn so much from the sessions. And then over the years, I had clients that would come to me and say, you know, while I'm in this altered state of light hypnosis, I'd also like to meet my guide. So over the years, I just came up and developed a session called Meet Your Spirit Guides. So wherever I go, I tend to go through a 3-day event, and I go to your wonderful wellness center. I also go to Texas and the Dallas area, and then also go back to Denver. And I do the individual sessions for 3 of the days, but one of the days on a Saturday, I do the group session called Meet Your Spirit Guides. And I am totally amazed at the detail that people are able to get out of those 2-hour sessions. We plan, it's kind of like a mini past life. In the first half of it, you do see scenes from a very important past life. and you're being shown that by your higher self and your guides. Then while you're in this slightly altered state, we move on into the segment where we bring through up to 3 of your guides. And again, in this altered state, you'll feel their personality if you haven't felt them before. We'll ask them for a form, a shape, so that we can remember them by something. And then we'll try to get a name to call them. And really, guides don't have names. They have tonal sounds, just like we do when we're not incarnated. But for us, for me, they'll call themselves Bob, Joe, Joseph, Mary, anything they want to. And sometimes the names have meanings because they may have physically incarnated with that person in a life at one time before they became an ascended guide. So if they have a particular name and if they have a particular look, then that's something for the client to pursue in meditation later. Say, show me scenes from a past life where we were together. That soul may have been with them in a past life, but now they're on the other side and they're working as a guide. So I find that there are 3 different groups of souls that become guides. The angelic realm, which would be archangels and angels, the ascended beings, and these are souls that at one time probably did incarnate into many lives, and now they are in a much higher dimension and they're working as a guide. And then members of your soul group. So you might have a soul group member like a father or a mother or a grandmother that's passed, and they stay around you close by and work as not so much of a guide as they do just a loving energy, and they send you loving energy all the time. I have a grandmother that's a guide for me, and she was like my mentor when I was growing up. So those 3 entities are the 3 groups that people will meet in this 2-hour Meet Your Spirit Guides. And then I find at the end, it's very helpful for us to sit up. Everybody lays on the floor. They bring pillows and a little blanket, something to lay on. And then after we're done, we turn the lights on. I mean, it's not dark, but it's dim. And then we turn the bright lights on. We sit up and we just go around, and anyone that wants to tell a little bit about what they saw. And we find we all learn from what they tell us. So
Now,
it's very helpful.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
There's a few people that have asked me, do we have to lay down? Can you provide us a chair?
No, you don't have to. Yeah, we always have. Yeah, we always have chairs. Yeah, always have chairs in the room. And if people have back problems or they can't lay flat, that's why I ask them to bring 2 pillows. They put 1 pillow under the head and 1 under the knees to help their back, just like they would be on a massage table, so their back won't hurt.
And it's a little bit different at Resonant Essentials because we have concrete floors.
Yes, and it may be, yes.
If they want to lay down, they need to be sure to bring a little extra padding.
Yes, they could bring a yoga mat. They could bring a thick blanket
to go
with. But if they want to sit in a chair, and again, this is just me, I find that, and I've had sessions that have been given to me in a recliner chair, I don't relax enough. So I find I relax more when I'm laying down. So that's why I suggest they lay down. But I've given sessions to 50 people in church pews one time. And then I went around, and of course they saw things. So that was just sitting up in a chair. So either way.
So when you started doing this work, what were some of the benefits that people started realizing because I know the benefits as a psychic medium, but a lot of people don't realize the benefits of really connecting deeply with their spirit team. So can you
let me give you an example of one case that I remember. It was so authentic that I put it in, I think, my 2nd book. For many years, until I left the Denver area, I was a tarot card psychic reader at a Colorado Springs store called Celebrations. And I was standing in the store one day, and a lady and her husband walked up, and she said, "Is there someone that can help me with dreams?" And I said, "Well, what is your problem?" And she said, "I am talking in the night. I'm screaming. I'm seeing people in dreams. I'm afraid that they're, bad entities." And I said, "Well, I'm a past life regression therapist. I would guess that if that's the case, that would all come out. If it's some other kind of entity, that would also come out. So long story short, she scheduled a session, we had it, and it went into an in-depth story. She had been a healer in several lives before. They didn't show her all the lives, but they told her that. But then what they really were trying to tell her is, these are your guides trying to connect with you in dreams because you won't listen. They're trying to send you messages and you won't listen.
So, but I think sometimes we think that because they're in their dreams, that it's not a real happening.
Right. And also from hypnotherapy, you're in your slowest brainwave state in the dream state. So it's easier for them to reach out to you in that slow brainwave state. But basically what they were trying to tell her is that you're a medium. You are supposed to be using your skills and you're not doing it. So long story short, she came in to see me about a year later and she looked like a totally different person. She was lit up with joy. She was calm. She was serene. And she said, I just owned up to what I came to do, and I've been doing it ever since. I've been a medium. My guides work with me all the time. Now, not to say that that's what's going to happen to everyone, but they were sending her messages and she just was ignoring them. And sometimes our souls just don't want to step in to what we ask to come work on this life. In other words, our souls pick an intention. We come in knowing that we have the abilities to do certain things because we plan on accomplishing a certain growth. Well, she just wasn't wanting to face up to it. And her guys are like knocking on the door. Remember. Anyway, long story short, she finally connected.
I watch this quite frequently. I see people who get real enthusiastic. They go get their first massage and then they want to become a massage therapist. They take one of those paint classes.
Yes.
Teach you to do a painting and then they want to become an artist. They forget that a lot of the work that the people go through to become so inspirational in their work comes from training and taking their work seriously.
Right.
And finding the gifts, because I'm not saying that we shouldn't try to do a lot of different things and bring in as many gifts as we should, but I can tell you, you asked me if I was going to be a singing healer, nobody wants to listen to that. Not for me, you know? So, and the same with drawing. I can draw a straight line, I can draw a stick figure, but I'm not going to be the, like Shirley Chessman, who is a soul portraitist that we have. But that doesn't mean that I can't find my gifts in my way and do my work.
Right.
So I really am glad you're doing this class because I think it's very important. A lot of people tell me, well, I had a reader tell me that this is who my person is, and this is what this is. And I'm not saying that the person isn't accurate. It's a different if you meet your guide and work with your team.
Very different.
And if somebody is just telling you, you could tell me that my guide is Jehoshaphat, and that means nothing to me, you know. Because
well, let me give you an example of myself. So I've always loved to do readings. I started out with rune stones, then I flipped over to tarot. But when I first started doing readings, I didn't really feel my guides around me. I felt their impression. I didn't really know their names. I just knew there were these entities around me, even from high school, but I didn't really have any close connections. So when I first started doing card readings, they were basically my interpretation of the cards that I had studied. But as the years went on, I started telling people now, my guides kind of sit over here because I can feel them. They show me scenes, they tell me words, they give me phrases. It's like, it's always there for everyone. But suddenly my window really opened when I started reading the cards. And I've heard other people say the same thing, that this happens after years and years of trying to connect with your guides. And since then, I've learned up to 7 of their names. I know what their forms look like. I know their personalities. And so I couldn't do my work if I didn't have my guides. they channel through me when I'm doing the cards. I interpret the cards, but then I also go, okay, Susie, my guides are telling me also blah, blah, blah. So they really add to the reading. They give me more information. So that's how everybody can use their guides. If they start connecting, which every single person can connect with their guides, it's
When-
like you are never alone. You always have this sidekick helping you.
Well,
Go
but
ahead.
with my doorkeeper, okay, the amount of love that was infused with that, I already had that connection to my guide and then my spirit team. But when I met my doorkeeper, having that connection, when you feel that love coming through, you can't get it just because I'm giving you a reading and I'm telling you
No.
this. And this is why I think it's so important to build that connection, because like you said, the woman came in, she had a beautiful face, shining glory, she was connected, she was doing her work, and she was relaxed and happy.
Yeah.
And that
what you call the gatekeeper, I call the master guide. And the master guide, I find they have been with your soul for many, many, many lives. So they really know what your path is. They know where you've come from. The rest of your group doesn't necessarily have that history. They may just be in, like I have a guy named Simon. They just came on board when I started writing books. So he's my book guru.
I got one myself.
And you know what he looks like? He shows himself as a little alien. He's got a round head with two big black eyes like an alien. That's just the way he always shows himself. So they're all, they're all different. They all do things, but the master guide or the gatekeeper or the doorkeeper, that guide really knows you, your soul from a long time.
I have very close experiences with all of them, and I've experienced all. So my main guide is different than just.
Oh, okay.
So it's a little different, I think, for everybody, because but Jesse is very much connected to me as my doorkeeper.
Oh,
the three of us work very well together, and then the others come in for functions
occasionally. Yeah. That's the way mine are. Yeah.
I want to go into past life regression, because I got to experience this.
Yay! I'm so glad Michelle had a session with me. That really helps for her to understand.
Well, the thing is that I believe that there's two reasons that I wanted the session. I want to know the work that you do, but I also want to make sure that you're, I don't want to say worth it, but worth it. I want to make
sure.
Not just somebody off the street that learned, oh, I can do this, and therefore I'm going to do this for you and not have any background. I was so impressed.
Yay.
And I loved it so much. It really brought a couple of levels of healing. And I want to ask, before we go into what benefits I got, I want to ask, how did you choose to do past life regressions? Did it just find you?
It did find me. Again, I have to go back to the gurus of past life. When Dr. Brian Weiss came out with his Many Lives, Many Masters, that was about 88.
Right.
And I read that. I was in my 30s. And then a couple of years later, Dr. Michael Newton came out with Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls. And those are bestsellers. You will find those books in any metaphysical bookstore, and they're 30-something years old. He taught his own way of reviewing the soul, which is called Between Lives Soul Sessions, which I also do. So all of his books, the main cases are Between Lives Soul cases. And I just read his books and I went, oh my gosh, this is it. It just resonates with me. And then after that, I just was obsessed. I just everything I could find to do with past life and the souls. And it just became, even though I was in real estate and I was in construction side of real estate. In fact, I had my own building company for about 9 years in Colorado. But at the same time, I was in a little mountain spiritual town, and I was doing all the spiritual work and doing readings and everything, talking to my guides while I was balancing this. And if you go into the past life worlds, you will hear still Dolores Cannon, which was a past life regressionist for over 40 years. She is the queen. She died in her 80s just a few years ago, and I've read almost every one of her books. You just can't stop yourself. I just found it I tell people, I have the most incredible profession. It's like reading a mystery novel every day. I have no idea what I'm going to sit down and find. I'll never forget a little old lady, literally, she was a little short lady, about 70 years old, sat down, and she was this spiritual woman from just so many interesting lives, but you would have never figured that out, because what souls do is some lives, they really are the leaders. They really are the empowered ones. They could even be royalty. They could be landlords. But then in other lives, our souls are wise enough to know, we have to feel what we may have put on others. So I call it psychic circling. You are karmically coming back to feel whatever was the opposite of what you were living in other past lives. So if you were the leader of a community, you need to understand what those poor, simple constituents below you looked like and felt like. So you'll come back as just a simple person with a simple life, just having loving connections and really not pushing yourself so hard, is just to be a loving human being. That's perfect. That's what you came in to work on. And I've had those cases. So that's why I'm saying it's so interesting. You just never know what the soul has chosen to work on.
One of the things that I got a question of, why is this so expensive? And I want to answer that question because I don't want you to have to answer that question.
Okay, go ahead.
Because one of the things I don't think people understand is that it is a gift, yes, but it also takes time to train and fine tune.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
The nuances of the shifts that are happening in the session, so that you as the professional can guide this person through this experience. And I don't think people understand.
Yeah, let me give you an example. Again, I've been doing this 15 years, and because I do it full time and I travel, I have had within the groups and the individuals thousands of cases at this point. I do hundreds each year of the individual past lives. I just do. I love it, and it comes to me, and I love it. But I will say, when I first started out, certain situations that were very crisis oriented and traumatic, when the client came in, would actually throw me off because I did not have enough experience. Well, of course, I didn't charge as much as I do now either. Right. These sessions were shorter. They were only 90 minutes. And the first 5 years, I only had so much experience. But what happens is, after years and years and years, right, just what you said, you fine tune every word you say in the induction. And so a lot of times people will come into me and they'll say, oh, I had a past life 5 years ago and I just couldn't relax and I never did see anything. And then I'll have someone, oh, I went to this trained psychotherapist and I just couldn't see anything at all. And then they have a session with me and they have no trouble, because I have fine-tuned every word I say is meant to get them relaxed. And they don't really understand that. But the only way you can do that is just by lots and lots of experience. So when they say, oh, I just can't relax, I go, honey, don't worry about it. It's just the way it's going to be. If you're meant to see your past lives, you're going to see them today. And I really believe their higher self sends them to have the session, that the higher self knows they're ready to see this information, they're ready to process. And so their higher self wants them to see this information. So all I can say is it takes experience. It does take experience.
But it's even more than that, because I think that it's not just the experience, because what you're giving them is a look into an opportunity to bring healing on a level that they may have gotten it before. Now, I can do a reading for someone and I can get parts of their other lives, but it's a little different when somebody actually is experiencing scenarios from that life that pertains to this life. Now, I do spiritual counseling. We work with other lives. We work with what they're working with in this life. But when they experience it themselves, I think it validates them. And validation is a small portion, but it's also what they're here for. You can't deny it. It's not like telling you.
And a good example of that is I always ask to have a virtual way to see your face, whether it's using Zoom or a phone, WhatsApp or whatever. And the reason for that is I need to see the expressions on your face, because I can tell by the expressions there's about to be an event. I can tell by the energy shifting in you that something is about to happen and we don't want to miss it. And so when we're doing the sessions, we start at the beginning, and then I ask them, are we ready to move on? Do you need to see anything else? They'll go, no, I'm okay. So then we'll move, and I'll ask them, let's move to the next most significant scene. And a lot of times people will say things like, I don't see anything. There's nothing here. Well, years ago, that kind of unsettled me. Now I've learned it's because something happened and they jumped over it. Like they could have been killed and they didn't want to see it, so they skipped over it. So I've learned, okay, Susie, it's okay, but let's go back. Let's go back to the last most significant scene that happened to you in this life we're looking at, because we don't want to jump over it. We really want to walk through it and make sure that you understand everything that happened there. And your higher self knows how to show it to you. So it's not shocking. It's not traumatic. They'll show you in a real calm manner. And sure enough, as soon as I say that, they go back to a scene where something has happened to them, unfortunately. But that's why their higher self wanted them to see this past life, because the trauma from that may still be carrying over in this present life.
Well, and that's what happened with me. Tell
us about that.
I jumped right into it. I did not have that same hesitation. Nope, not a bit. And it was really a blessing to me. So we'll go into a little bit about what I experienced, so that, I not just so that people understand that they too can have this, but to explain the benefit that I got from it otherwise.
Right.
I'd had a past life with an ex of mine, and I had felt torn in this life about our situation, how it ended, how a lot of stuff had happened. And I was shown in that life, I again left him to do this work. So I understood that he, in his spirit, didn't mean that we didn't have feelings for each other, had other lives together, but that it was okay to leave somebody who is not ready for this life, because he's not ready to do this work in this life. But I left him to do this work because I followed my destiny. And so it released me in a way that it released all the guilt. Well, I saw my death in that life. We were in a town that had been marauded by raiding forces, and a spear came through me, right at the heart area, right below the heart area, actually, over to like where a hiatal hernia would be, right?
And didn't we ask, do you have any problems with that spot today in your life?
Yes.
And you do.
I definitely do. And but I haven't had it since.
Yay! That's how it works. It lets you finally see, the soul says to you, I know you're strong enough now to finally release that. So now you're ready to see that life and move on from it. And so you don't have to carry what I call baggage forward, life after life. You're finally ready to understand why you left, why you were killed,
And in that,
Usually the reason, usually the reason we're killed is the soul is ready to move on. It's accomplished what it came to accomplish, and
right.
it has no problem ending the life. It has no problem having an illness or someone kill it, because it goes, I accomplished what I came to do. I'm going to see these souls again in another life. I'm good to go. And it leaves the body like a costume.
I remember looking over in that scenario.
Yeah.
He was a warrior in that life. And I lay there dying. And as I laid there dying, I turned and looked, and there was one of my students,
Mm-hmm.
Who is somebody very near and dear to my heart today,
Mm-hmm.
was there with me, watching me pass. But it was also that I saw the love that he had in his heart. So I understood that even though we separated paths, doesn't have anything to do with
Right.
feeling guilty about leaving.
Right.
So
Right.
it released me from the guilt that I felt. And that's the
And
one.
these are called soul contracts.
Right.
So you make a soul contract with a member of your soul group. And sometimes they play the bad guy in one life. And it's okay, because in the next life, they could be your father and
Or
they're
the
fine.
good guy and you the bad guy.
Yeah. And it's just, I in my first book, I talk about this in the first chapter. It's like you write the stage play and you're sitting on a cloud with all your soul group, and you're saying, okay, Susie, I want you to be my mother now. And Joe, I want you to be my father. And I'm going to be working on courage in this life. So I'm going to write the stage play, and we're going to come out and be dressed up like the characters, and we're going to perform that. And then at the end of the stage play, we all walk off. Now, the difference in lives is we have now layered ourselves with that experience. It's not a costume that we just take off and you go back home. We now are a little bit altered as a soul, but basically it's just a little chapter in this long stream of soul experiences.
Absolutely. And that's one of the benefits that I would love for people to get. Now, let's go in and
Okay.
talk about what we're going to do this weekend. This
Yes, coming weekend. Yeah, not this weekend, but the next weekend. Right.
26th, 27th, and 28th. And people still have time to pick up
Yes.
a personal one-on-one session.
Yes.
Register for Meet Your Spirit Guides.
Yes.
So
I still have sessions available on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I still have slots left for the individual sessions. And I do have some people signed up for the Meet Your Spirit Guides. That's Saturday from 2 to 4 in a Resonant Essentials. We're going to be in the big meeting room. And all you need to do for either one of them is just to email me or call me. And all I need from you is to reserve your space, is your name, your cell number, and of course, I'm going to get your email. And the reason I get your email is I'm going to record the individual sessions on Zoom, even though we're sitting in front of each other, and then I will email the recording to them afterward. And in the Meet Your Spirit Guides, they do have to remember to just bring pillows and something to lay on. And then both of these sessions, you just pay me at the time of the session or at the group event, and I take all forms. I take check, cash, or credit card. I have a little chip reader. So call me and email me now or up until the time, not knowing your schedule, still check, because sometimes I still have openings right at the very end.
So give us and spell it out, your email address.
Okay. So my email is lee@crystalsoulpath.com. And that's all one word, Crystal, SOULPATH.com. And of course, my website is crystalsoulpath.com. So if you want to go to the website and read about the sessions, and then if you click on my calendar, it will open up those time periods. It doesn't let you reserve, but it tells you more about the Meet Your Spirit Guides group and the individual sessions. And then all you have to do is email me or call me, either way.
Would you think it advisable for them to bring a notebook so when they come out of Meet Your Soul Guide, they can jot down some things so that they don't forget?
Sure, sure, sure.
Okay, so I'm going to ask anybody who's watching if you have questions. I've got Chloe here. She said, hello, ladies. It's very powerful when a person truly embodies their gifts and skill. She is my writing coach. Okay.
Oh, cool.
So just at all, I've known Chloe for years and years and years.
Cool.
She's very, very talented in her work. I knew her before she became a famous writer. And Brother Francis says, excellent. I have Newton's books back in
Yay.
the 1990s, and it's great information. Brother Francis is one of our, he's our meditation instructor, and he's got a plethora of books that he's written.
Okay.
So yay.
Yay.
Opportunity there. He works with a lot with his grandmother and his mother. They come in and give him a lot of support and whatnot.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
What
I call mine Granny. My mother died when I was 13. And so I went to live with my grandmother, and she was my mentor. She taught me how to be strong. And now she's on the other side. And when I write books, she sits on my sofa. I've had mediums tell me, I can see your grandmother sitting on the sofa in the office. So I understand.
Make sure that you're just got your feet to the fire.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I'm going to go ahead and post your email address at the bottom of this video. I'll go in at when we're done. Is there anything else that you think anybody should know, would want to know? This is, I want to stress to people that if you have, a lot of people are diagnosed with a lot of mental health issues. They're
right. I was going to just mention that. So these are the typical reasons, and I have a video on my website that will talk about it, but these are the typical reasons that people come to me to have past life regressions. If they're suffering depression and don't understand why they are suffering depression, many times it's a carryover of something that has happened. And it may not be the most previous life. It could be 5 lives back, but you're still carrying around that burden. If you have anxiety or panic attacks, in my latest book, I have another chapter on simple panic attacks. It's something that has happened to you in the past. And when you see it, it hits a hot button and you have a panic attack. I just sent a monthly email blast on a typical panic attack, and it was a woman that was getting to where she could not drive over a bridge at all without a huge panic attack. And of course, when we had a session, she went back to a life where she had actually had a tire. She was with her son. She was in a car going over a bridge, and a tire blew out, and they hit the side of the bridge, and they went off into the water, and they both drowned. Oh. So every time she gets on a bridge, that button, that hot button. So is the phobias, which is what this was, are the easiest things to cure in past life regressions. As soon as you see the event, then the next time you go over a bridge, you go, oh, wait a minute, that was Susie back in 1972, right, before I was born. And now I understand that, so I can let that go. And so what happens is over time, you just completely release it, and you do not have that phobia or that panic attack. Another big, obvious question that I get so much, and I've written chapters on it, I feel stuck. People walk in, they can come from every profession. I've worked with doctors, lawyers, therapists, every kind of professional you can think of. And a common question is, I feel stuck. And it's because their path is staring them in the face, and they're going to have to make a decision. And many times doing these past life sessions will take you back to lives to help you understand, oh, I've done this before. I'm coming back to work on it again. I'm much more proficient at it now. And so don't be afraid. Don't feel insecure about this, because you do have experience. You do know what you're doing. take the leap and step into the next chapter. And so once they see that, they go, okay, thank you. Now I have a direction. Now I can see what the next chapter is supposed to be about. And so that really helps a lot of people. The other thing that's most obvious, the most common thing, is a relationship that they do not understand. They do not, they can't find the answer to why there's problems with it or why they still are attracted to someone. And a past life regression will always take them. Probably they've been in many past lives with that person, and many times they're working on different things, but they will be shown what the connection is from a past situation that actually relates to their present life. Just
Right.
like you saw, it's okay to walk away. That was what you needed to see.
Right.
And that's your higher self knows what to show you to help you process the problems with that relationship, to allow you to go forward and not be so stuck in it.
It was a twofold benefit. I was able to not hold any frustration or guilt over leaving, but I also know where the pain in my hiatal hernia area is. Haven't had a problem with it since. So
Yeah,
Max is over here trying to pester me to visit.
he's so cute. He's so cute. Well, I'll never forget a case. A lady was in a Meet Your Spirit Guides, and she saw a scene as a young girl. She was about 8, and she saw herself going down a path, but then she just got totally blocked and she couldn't see anything else. And I said, unfortunately, we don't have the depth in the Meet Your Spirit Guides group to get those answers in a past life, but you're seeing a scene. You need to think about having a more in-depth session. So months later, she came in to have an in-depth session. And what she saw is she was in Russia with parents, and the parents had had to leave her for various different reasons. And it had so frightened her. She did catch up with them later on, but what it did do is set up such a fear that she would lose her children in this life that she developed agoraphobia. You know what agoraphobia is?
Oh, yeah, indeed.
It's afraid to leave your house. She was afraid to leave. She was afraid to let her children leave. And it had just overtaken her life. So when she went back to see this life, she understood exactly where the fear was coming from. And it allowed her to drop the agoraphobia. So that was a really winning session.
We have a comment from Nikki, which I just dropped. Hang on.
Uh-huh.
She said that her mom was she loves the live. She said her mom was she hates to sew because she was Henry VIII's one of the wives, the seamstress for some of the wives, and she was sewing their murder dresses. And so you know, you're the seamstress, you get close to him. Now, guess what? This is going to be your murder dress. So I can understand why that would not be something why I would want to sew.
Not at all. And
But-
she would have carried a lot of guilt with her.
Well,
She
and that's what I
just
think.
would have always felt like, oh my gosh, I enhanced this by helping,
Right.
this happen.
But she obviously is kind of knows this now. So she's really good to go. I hope. Nick,
Yeah.
is good to go. I don't know if you're still watching, but no, this is exactly why we need to understand our past lives and we need help getting to them. So how much is it per session?
Okay, so the 2-hour session, as I type back to everybody when they inquire, involves quite a bit. So what you're doing is, and again, every hypnotherapy does their session differently. When I first started, you would only see one past life. I decided we want to really convince this client that what she's seeing is not something she just made up. So let's stretch the session. We're going to see 2. So now in that 2-hour time, she'll see 2 complete past lives. We identify some of the main characters. I will say, feel the energy of this man standing in front of you. Do you recognize this energy as anyone you know today in your present life? And I would say 2/3 of the time, they recognize the soul as someone that means they're in her soul group and they have traveled with that person many times in many lives. So you also, in that time, we finish the 2 past lives, but then we pull in up to 3 of your guides. And even if you know some of your guides, you may meet new ones. Most of us have anywhere from 6 to 12 guides. So in all of that time, I record the session. I email that to you later. And the fee is $250. And then, as I said, you just pay me when you come to the session, and I take all forms of payment. Then the Meet Your Spirit Guides class is $40. And again, you just pay that when you show up to the session. We have really adequate time in that 2 hours. We see scenes from one individual life, and then we meet the 3 guides. But then, as I said, we sit up and go around the room, and you'll really learn a lot about everybody's different sessions. And of course, I interject, because if they see something and they don't quite appreciate what was happening, I have some background enough that I can ad-libbed a little bit more on what they've said.
Guide them through it. Sure.
Yeah, because sometimes they don't understand what they're saying. And I've had so many similar cases. I can say it might be this because it sounds like this. So we get a little more insight into what was going on, and hopefully they leave and have some clarity about what those scenes were about. Plus, they may meet up to 3 new guides that day. They may already kind of feel them around them, but a lot of times they just don't. And I just say, we're a human being in a material world, and all of these beings are beings of light. But for us, it would help the person to have a form, a name, a personality. And the best way to connect to them after they leave is through meditation. So you just go into a quiet space. You just mentally call in the guides that you've met, visualize them. And then what I always do is get a writing journal. And I just say, come in, guides, be with me today. Help me to stay on my path. And then if I'm having questions about something that's going on in my life, I'll say, guides, I need to make a decision. Help me go what direction. And then I just get very quiet. And anything I sense or feel or hear, I open my eyes after I've been there a while, and I write it down. And I keep journals, and I go back and read them. And it really does make you aware that you weren't saying this, because it's not the words you would say.
Right.
You can tell it's not your voice.
Right.
They use your brain with the words to shoot it out, but it's not you pulling the information out. So it's well worth the time, the 2 hours and the $40 to get you acquainted with your guides if you haven't met any of them. And even if you've met some, you may meet new ones. A lot of times people will go around the room, they'll go, oh, well, I met Alfred. I know he's my master guide. But even if they met him, he may be telling them more information than they've known, because we ask them questions in the group while they're there to tell them what is their path. Are we on our path? And they'll get information about it. So all of that is entailed in those 2 hours.
Well, and I think that that's, a great benefit for $40. It gets them started. And hopefully, they see the benefit, they'll start developing that relationship and come to you for another session.
Yeah.
So we're not seeing the last of you. This isn't a one.
No, I hope not. No, I plan in advance. I try to travel 2 times a year. So in the fall, I go to several places, and then in the spring, I go to several places. And I find that gives everybody, if they've heard about me one season but didn't lock on, then they can grab on to me when I come back, in the spring. And that's what I would hope to do with you, is come back in the spring. Yeah.
We definitely want you back. You're here. You're in New Mexico.
I love New Mexico. I just love it.
We're going to take advantage of our closeness of proximity, not wait for you to travel around till everything.
Right. I'm actually in Bernalillo, the little town north, but I tell everybody I live in Albuquerque, because it is Albuquerque.
Everybody in Bernalillo says I live in Albuquerque, because it's like they delineate it. If they talk to people who are from Albuquerque, they go, no, I'm out in Bernalillo, or I'm in Rio Rancho, I'm in So thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
I'm so glad we did this interview. Everybody, Lee is amazing. I want you to take this opportunity. I'm going to put her email address and website down at the bottom of this video after we end it. Lee, I welcome you and I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, Michelle, for the opportunity. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Okay, okay.